Hey kids, hope you're all doing okay. So glad that the weather's nice and we can go outside and play games and go for our walks and maybe even start our gardens soon. Also want to say happy Easter, and you're probably thinking, why are you still saying happy Easter? Easter was weeks ago. Well, in the church, we celebrate Easter for 50 days. And so for many Sundays after Easter, we're continuing to celebrate Easter, and so we keep saying Happy Easter. So today I wanted to talk to you about something I've probably mentioned a lot, and that is experience. Perhaps you've heard that word before, I'm sure you have. It kind of means that when we do something, when we meet someone, when we play a game or watch a movie, when we eat ice cream, everything that we see and hear and taste and touch is part of an experience. But not just that, the feelings that we have when we do something are part of our experience. So maybe you feel sad when play plans with a friend got canceled. That sadness is part of your experience. Or when you had a birthday and everything was great and you got the present that you really wanted and you're feeling so happy, that feeling of happiness is also part of your experience in addition to all the other things that happened. So feelings are really important when it comes to talking about experience. Memories too are important because one experience can remind us of an experience that we've had before. So I might eat some apple pie and it will remind me of a time when I helped my grandma bake an apple pie. And I felt really good and loved and happy about it. Or I might see an airplane flying in the sky and it'll remind me of a trip that I got to go on. I want you to take a look at this video. It's an excerpt from the movie Ratatouille. And it kind of captures what I'm talking about in terms of one experience can lead us to remember another experience, especially the feelings that we had in that first one. So have a look.
Ratatouille? They must be joking. No, I can't breathe.
Who cooks the ratatouille? I demand to know!
So you see how when the restaurant critic eats that little piece of ratatouille, the taste and the experience instantly makes him think back of an experience he had when he was hurt as a kid and his mom helped him get better and gave him a hot lunch of ratatouille to make him feel better. And that experience of the feelings that he had around that all came flooding back to him and made him kind of have that feeling again. Because we're all different in one way or another, because each of us always all these things going on when we're doing something, feelings and memories, we can all experience the same thing differently. So you've ever tried to tell a story and you're giving the details and you say this happened and then that happened and then someone says, no, it didn't happen that way, it happened like this. Well, maybe they're right and maybe you got a detail wrong, or maybe you just both experience the same event in a different way. So I want you to take a look at this picture and tell me what you see. Some people, when they look at it, they instantly see an older woman. Some people look at it and they see a younger woman. And depending on your perspective, depending on how you shift your gaze, you'll see one or the other. And sometimes you'll flip back and forth. Well, this is kind of a little bit what happens with Bible stories. Bible stories tell us the experiences people had of God. So when we talk about the Bible, we talk about the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament, it's experiences they had of God, and in the New Testament, it's experiences they had of Jesus. Things that he said, things that he did and taught. So you probably know we have 4 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I just want to show you this really cool book that I have. It's called the Book of the Gospels. So it has not the whole Bible, but just the Gospels in it, the 4. And each of the authors is depicted with a picture. So we have Matthew here. It's kind of like an angel. And then Luke. Matthew, Mark, Luke. It's this eagle here. And John. And they're both depicted differently because they're different Gospels, but also they kind of depict Jesus slightly differently based on the experience of the writers. So we have 4 people's experiences that are different, but much of it is the same. And it's just a slightly different experience of the same thing that Jesus said or did. It doesn't mean one is wrong or one is right. It just means that the experience was a bit different depending on how they were feeling and what stood out in their memories. So today we hear the story of the experience of 2 disciples on a road. Now they were really sad because Jesus had died and Jesus was their friend. And so they had left Jerusalem, the city, and decided to go to a place called Emmaus, a small town not too far from there. Maybe they lived there, maybe they had friends there they wanted to go stay with, we don't know. But along the road, a stranger comes up to them and asks them why they're so sad. The stranger is actually Jesus, but they don't realize it. He seems to be different somehow. He asks them why they're sad, and they say it's because their friend Jesus has died, and they had hoped that together with Jesus, they'd be able to make the world a better place for everyone. But now they'd have to give up. Eventually they reach where they're going, Emmaus, and they invite this stranger to stay for supper with them. And while they're serving the bread, they suddenly realize the stranger is actually Jesus. But he disappears, and they immediately run back to their friends in Jerusalem and say that they've seen Jesus, and their friends say, "We've seen Jesus too." And everyone's happy and full of joy. So we read about these different stories of Jesus in the Bible, but they're not meant to be a black and white, step-by-step retelling of what happened, like we read in a newspaper. The stories are about what people experienced when they were with Jesus. How did they feel? What did they remember? What did he do with them? This helps us to get to know Jesus as a person. So not just as someone who lived 2,000 years ago, but someone who is with us here today. We read about what it was like for people to be there with Jesus. Different people experienced being with Jesus in different ways. And it helps us understand how we experience Jesus today. So we see how the 2 disciples were so sad, but they didn't realize Jesus was with them, and then once they did, they were so happy. So likewise, sometimes we might feel sad and alone, that no one understands us, but hopefully we remember that Jesus is with us. And if that doesn't get rid of our sadness completely, at least we know we're not alone and that someone understands us. So I want you to do, if you have time right now, is to think of one of your favorite stories of Jesus that you've heard. And think about why it's your favorite. How does it make you feel? What does it tell you about who Jesus is? And if you can find a piece of paper, try drawing the story out. Your experience of it. Put your feelings in the painter. Use different painting. Use different colors, and try to capture your experience of Jesus as you hear this story. hope you're all doing well and hope to see you again soon. Take care and God bless you.